Good evening, everyone. This is Rebecca with Red True Crime. So, apparently, in the state of Florida, if you're a juvenile that commits an adult crime, they will show your mugshot to the news media and it can be spread around. There is no sense of privacy there. So, my question is, do you think they should continue to do that? And should that be the rule across all 50 states? Right or wrong, you tell me. So, think about that, and we'll be right back. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. So, happy Friday and all that good stuff. So I was just going through the internet looking for some cases, talk about some crimes and see if anything popped up that we need to discuss. And a case out of Miami-Dade, Florida popped up. And these are your perpetrators. Yeah, Nelson Nunez, Josiah Jones, and Xavier Tyson. They are approximately 12, 13, and 15 years old. Now, from what I understand, Xavier Tyson, who looks the youngest, is the 15-year-old, so he looks very young. These three young boys, and notice I use the word boys, these three young boys are accused of luring actually, I shouldn't say luring. They literally grabbed a 12-year-old girl who they knew her. They grabbed her, drugged her to a community garden, and Josiah Jones sexually assaulted her while the other two held her down. Yeah. So I was very surprised to see their pictures because if you remember the case of Amory Jones, same girl was lured away by an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 10-year-old. 10-year-old being a girl, was lured away, was beaten, severely sexually assaulted, and strangled and left for dead. We, to this day, do not know who those three kids are. The court, they're being prosecuted through the court system in Cleveland, but we don't know who they are. Their pictures have never been displayed because they want to go on about privacy for the children and for the families and all this other stuff. Okay. So let's get back to these three. So on the night in question, this happened they were arrested June 19th. I believe the incident happened June 18th, 2025. So this past summer. The victim was leaving her friend's house. They saw her. She said she saw them, see her, and she was walking faster to get away when Josiah Jones ran up and grabbed her and drugged her off. Yeah, drugged her off to this community garden, and the other two went along. Now, there is a fourth boy who was there, did not partake in the assault, but he is a witness. And it said that they get her down there to this, there's a couch in this community garden. They get her down there and they take her shirt, open up her shirt and start fondling her breasts. She's screaming, she's yelling. They force her down onto the couch where they're holding her arms and legs down, and they start taking off her clothes. She's screaming so much. One boy, I want to say it was Mr. Nunez here, shoved rocks in her mouth to keep her from screaming. And a neighbor heard the screaming and yelled, "Is there anything going on? What's going on down there?" Nothing else was said. The only reason these boys stopped assaulting her, and she says the assault went on for about 30 minutes. The only reason these boys stopped assaulting her is that they heard her father yelling for her, looking for her, and they stopped and they ran off. Girl was terrified. She eventually told somebody what happened, and the police were contacted within hours of this happening. And then these kids were out running around on their bikes, and she started pointing them out, like, these are the three who did this. So this case has been handled in the juvenile court system up until yesterday. Yesterday, they closed it out in the juvenile court system and have upgraded all three of these guys to adult charges to the adult court system. So this is all happening in Miami-Dade County. So yes, all three are being charged as adults, and all three are being prosecuted as adults. So we don't know when the court aspect of it's going to go any further because they were in juvenile court yesterday. It was ended. The case was closed in juvenile court because it was transferred to adult court. So today they actually had arraignment today in adult court. Now they were not given bond. They basically, from what I could read, now I could be wrong on this, but I believe all three of these kids have been released back to their parents and are on some type of like house arrest. So I think that's what's going on with them right now. But when we look at the case of Omri Jones in Cleveland, where we have no idea who these perpetrators are on this kid. Now keep in mind, those three kids are now, one's not being charged at all. The 8-year-old's not being charged at all because he's so young. The 9 and 10-year-old are being charged with attempted murder, strangulation, or RAPE, assault, you name it. They're being hit, the book is being thrown at those two. But we don't know who they are. And they're on house arrest. They're with their parents. Now keep in mind, I believe it was the 9-year-old, his parents tried to leave town. They tried to pack up the house and get the hell out of there before the cops got there, but the cops got there first. Thank God for that, because God only knows where the hell they would have been had the cops not gotten there when they did. So these people are not above running away. But if we knew who these kids were, I think there would be more accountability. But I understand one hand of it because of how brutal the crime was. If you know who these kids are and they are living at home, it does leave a security risk for their families. People trying to be vigilantes, trying to take these kids out. I see both sides of the argument, but children that young committing crimes that severe at such a young age, we should know who they are. We really should, because I don't feel these are kids that are safe to be allowed back in public around other people. That's just how I feel. They should not be out there. Seem like these three right here, 12, 13, 15 years old committing an adult crime like that. Who's to say that girl's the first one that they've done this to? There may be others, because they just seem to, so grab, go, do, it just seems so planned out and like maybe they've done it before. So if there's more victims, I hope those people or those girls come forward, and speak their truth, because these three guys should have no business being out on the street, in my opinion. When you commit a crime that young at that age, what's the future? Some people are going to argue, Rebecca, they're kids. You have time to rehab them and make them better people. Maybe, just maybe. But I don't know. When you commit sex crimes like that, I don't know if you can rehab yourself from that. And I'm just speaking my opinion here, even Josiah, I have some hope for him to a degree. Granted, he's the one who did the most. But he sent a text to the girl apologizing for what he did. I shouldn't have done that to you. I'm sorry. Seems like he might have some remorse. I don't know. I don't know if that was genuine remorse or he's just saying, I'm going to say this so she doesn't tell on me and I don't get into trouble. I don't know. But I think these three boys need to be institutionalized for some time and, let the doctors shrink them a little bit and see what's going on. What made them do this? Are they victims themselves? These are the questions I have. Like the children in Cleveland, are they victims of sexual crimes? And is this why they're doing what they're doing? There has to be a rhyme and a reason to any of this. But I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't know these things, but it just makes sense to me that in order for you to do something like this, something like that has had to have been done to you, or you've witnessed it or something, I don't know. Like I said, right now as it stands, all three are now in adult court. These three here, Nelson Nunez, Josiah Jones, and Xavier Tyson. All three of them are in adult court. All three are being charged with, let's see. I know there's kidnapping was in there, and then you had sexual assault, acts with a minor. These are the charges they're all being charged with. And Again, I feel they should not be out allowed around other people. I think they should be held at the juvenile jail, kept there until they go to trial. And that's possible that's exactly what's being done. I'm not sure on that because, again, the way the Florida court records read, I think they may have been put out with ankle monitors to their parents, but I don't know. I don't think they should be though. I think if they're going to do grown things, they should be around grown people in the grown jail. Same thing with the kids up in Cleveland. You do grown up things, you get grown up time. And that's my opinion on that, So let's get to Genesis Nova Reed, the 2-year-old out of Enterprise, Alabama, that has been missing for God knows how long. What we know is on February 16th, the mother reported her missing, said she woke up on the couch. She wasn't in her bed and the front door was wide open. Okay. You talk to the neighbors, they're like, we haven't seen that kid in weeks. I think Christmas was right around the time we saw her last. The father of Genesis says, I haven't had my daughter since Christmas. Her mom would not let me see her after that. I tried to get her for New Year's. I tried this time, that time. Nope. Adrienne Reed, the mom of Genesis, is in police custody, has a $1 million bond right now, and is giving similar stories to what we had with Casey Anthony, which we all remember that case. Megan Boswell as another one, or even the West brothers out of California, where the parents were like, oh, they wandered off, or, oh, my child's with the babysitter and the babysitter ran off. We've heard these stories. And it ends in tragedy every single time. And this is basically the same thing Adrienne Reed is saying, that somebody named Mariah has her. She's not being consistent. You find that Genesis' room has been scrubbed clean of anything child. All of her things are gone. Why would that be the case if you have an active 2-year-old? What I'll never understand is people murdering their children because they're unhappy with themselves. Your children did not do this to you. Why are you taking them out? Because if you're not happy with your child or you're not happy having a child, then give the child to someone else, like a family member to raise, or turn them into the system. I mean, it's not great, but it's better than killing them. And that's the thing I don't understand, is how anybody could execute their own child. I don't understand. I don't understand. Now, we don't know if that is what's happened to Genesis, because Genesis, we're in I think day 12, day 13 of the search for Genesis, and she still has not been found. And the mom is not giving up any more information. I hate to say this, but it's not looking good. You've got all these online psychics that are saying that the child is dead, the child's with the visions of bathrooms and rugs and all this other stuff. Let me just say this. I don't put a lot of stock in psychics. I don't. I'm a skeptic, big time. I mean, I know there are people with abilities that have helped with cases like this. Did they actually have abilities or did they just get lucky? I don't know. I can't answer that. But it seems like every online psychic is saying that this child is deceased. The fact that she's 2 years old, the fact that Adrienne Reed has a previous severe assault case against her own mother, left her with a 5-inch gash that had to get stitches, and this was back in 2017, tells me that Adrienne Reed is probably not in her right mind most of the time. And I know the relationship she has with Genesis' father was very chaotic, to the point where she would make up that Genesis was missing multiple times to get his attention, and when he wouldn't do what she wanted, then things all went to hell. So this is a woman with not probably a great mental state that has most probably, allegedly, the law of averages here, done something to her child and is now being caught up where she had to admit something. The kid's not here. People are starting to notice. That's what I think. Now, Adrienne's sister has been all over Facebook calling people out, going, oh, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. She wouldn't do this, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. If you know for a fact your sister didn't do this and your sister knows where Genesis is, then get her to talk, dude. Ends this whole thing, because then we had a case here in North Carolina where a child went missing. The father was like, "Where's my kid?" And the mom got hemmed up for it, but turned out the mom went to Utah and adopted the child out to another family. Yeah, she did that. So that was confirmed. So the child was alive. She was just adopted out to somebody else. And the father had no idea. Not sure whatever happened with that case because, if he was involved, she shouldn't have been able to do that. But I don't know what ever happened with that. But we do know that child is alive. Now, if this is something similar to what Adrian has done, if she adopted out her own child to somebody else, then tell us who that is. But in that case, it's an illegal adoption, and dad's not having it because dad's like, "I want my kid." I don't know. Like I said, these are the things we're talking about tonight. But Genesis Reed, I'm praying that she is found. I'm praying that she's alive. But the longer this takes, it looks less and less likely that she's going to get found. But then again, we got a woman in North Carolina who went missing for 24 years. People thought she was dead. Here she just walked away from her family and lived 150 miles away from where she was from. Outlier. That is not normal. Elizabeth Smart is not a normal case when someone goes missing. J.C. Dugard, the three women in Cleveland that were kept in a basement. These are outliers. These things do not happen most likely. I'm praying for an outlier situation here for Genesis. But the more time that passes, the more likely that she is not going to get found. So you all tell me, off of this, back onto these three lunatics, do you really think juvenile offenders should have their mugshots be public? I think they should, especially when they commit crimes of an adult nature. Because if they're not going to be held in a facility, if they're going to be allowed out on ankle monitors and whatnot, the public needs to know who they are out of pure safety, in my opinion. Because obviously mom and dad, if these guys are doing what they're doing, are not keeping tabs on them. So, but you all tell me, do you think their mugshots should be public? I vote yes. And I think this should be the way for everywhere in all of the United States. Because kids like this are dangerous. Could they be rehabbed? Maybe. I don't know. But kids like this are dangerous. And we need to draw the line somewhere. We can't cover up for every juvenile that does something horrific. We can't. I think all their pictures should be out there, and people should be aware of who they are and what they've done or what they've been accused of. Especially if they're not going to be held at a facility, if they're going to be allowed to go home. We should know. That's just my opinion. You guys tell me. So this is Rebecca with Red True Crime. I'm going to end it right there on that note. But as I always say, be weird, be rude, be safe. And let me know your thoughts. Put it in the comments. Do you think they should, about the mugshots? And as I always say, please subscribe, share, like, comment. And have a great day and a great weekend and stay warm. It's freezing here. And bye. So good night.